All right, folks, this is our last part on reviewing linear functions. We're going to review how to draw the graph of a linear function. Okay, so I've got my coordinate plane here, and I've got a ruler over there, basically the two things we need. And all we got to do in writing the equation of a linear function, I'm going to show you a couple ways that we can do it. But basically, all you have to do is plot 2 points and draw a line. That's it. And getting 2 points is actually really easy. Typically, you've probably been taught that you need to identify, well, let's just show you a couple different ways. One way is to identify the Y-intercept. That's if it's in slope-intercept form, but if it's in point-slope form, there are other ways of doing it, okay? So let's show you about, let's say, maybe 2 or 3 different ways that you can write the equation of a line. Let's do the classic way, the way that you probably know. Let's say that you're told that you have a function and it's y equals 2x minus 7, okay? And you're told to graph the function of 2x minus 7. Well, this is in slope-intercept form, and this is the slope, 2, and this is the y-intercept, negative 7. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to the origin, which is right here, right? And you're going to go up or down along the y-axis to the y-intercept, which is negative 7. Well, negative 7 is down here, so we're going to start at the origin and go 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6, negative 7. And we're going to put a dot at negative 7, right? We're going to put a dot there, all right? Then we are going to then we would identify the slope, which is positive 2. And so from that same point, not up here, don't go back up here, from the point you just plotted, 2 is a fraction. 2 is the same thing as 2 over 1. Well, this is the y change. That's the delta y. And this 1 down here, that's the delta x. This is the how far up and down, up or down. And this is how far left or right. And here's what I want to tell you, is that if this is a positive number, you go up. If it's a negative number, you go down. If this is a positive number, you go to the right. And if it's a negative number, you go to the left. Okay? What we have here is positive 2 over positive 1. So we're going to go up 2 and to the right 1. So up 2 to the right 1. That's a slope of 2. Put another dot. And what we can now do is we can draw the line, or we can go up 2 and over 1 again. We can actually keep doing it a bunch of times. Up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. There we go. And then we can take a ruler and we can line up the dots. Line up the dots, and then once we line up all the dots, we can just draw a line through the dots, and there we go. We have just drawn the graph of 2x minus 7. Okay? All right, so that's one way to draw the graph of a function. All right? You'll probably need some graph paper for this, and so I recommend that you, whoops, drop my recommend that you get some graph paper. You can also practice a lot of this on Desmos. If you want to go on Desmos, you can just type in y equals 2x minus 7 when you're graphing in. Boop, it'll throw that line right in there, and you can practice a lot. Okay? All right, now let's try another one. Let's try one now that's in point slope form. What if we have y minus 5 is equal to 4/3 times x plus 3, okay? If it's in point slope form, there's a couple things that you can do here. You could turn it into slope-intercept form and then graph it, or watch this. You can identify which point was used for point slope form. Look at this. This is supposed to be y minus y1 equals slope times x minus x1, right? So in this case, what was the y1? Well, y1 was 5 because this says y minus 5. So we know that this used the y value of 5. What x value is used? Well, this is x minus x1. This says x plus 3. And because the sign changed, the x value must be negative. And it's a 3, so negative 3. So the x value is negative 3. And so we know that this line passes through the point negative 3, 5. So we can go to negative 3, 5, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We can put a dot at negative 3, 5. Then we can look at the slope. The slope is positive 4/3. That's up 4 and then over to the right 3. So go up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, over to the right 3, 1, 2, 3. And look, that actually gives us the y-intercept right there. It's right on the y-axis. Now that we have 2 points, we can just line it up. And draw. And there is the graph of y minus 5 equals 4 over 3 times x plus 3. And that's the graph of our line. Okay? All right. Now let's look at one more way that you can do this. One more way. Now the way I'm about to show you will only work in certain circumstances. Okay? Let's say that we have y equals, let's say 3x minus 6. Okay? So in this technique, and this is, this is just another way to understand it. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to plot the y-intercept, then you're going to plot the x-intercept. And then after you've plotted both of them, then you line them up with a ruler and you just draw a straight line through them. Okay? Let me show you what I mean. All right? In order to plot the y-intercept, well, we already know the y-intercept because in slope-intercept form, this is the y-intercept, negative 6. But even if you're not in y-intercept form, the way that you can plot the y-intercept is by plugging 0 in for x. So plug 0 in for x and solve for y. And solve for y. Okay? So even if we had let's say we had y minus 5 is equal to 2 times x plus 4, right? Well, just put a 0 in for x. Let's get rid of the x, put a 0 here. 0 plus 4 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. So we have y minus 5 is equal to 8. Add 5 to both sides, and we get y equals 13. So the y-intercept now is 13. Okay? So all you're doing is plugging 0 in for x and solving for y. And in this case, we would get 0 and negative 6. The y-intercept, 0, negative 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Put a dot there. All right. Next, we would try to identify the x-intercept. And that's easy too. The way you do that is plug 0 in, it's not a very good 0, plug 0 in for y and solve for x, and solve for x. That's it. Let's just put a 0 here. So we have 0 equals 3x minus 6. Now we're going to add 6 here and add 6 here. And we get 6 equals 3x. Divide by 3, and we get x equals 2. So that means for the x-intercept is at positive 2. From here, 1, 2. So we plot the y-intercept, plot the x-intercept, and now just take a ruler, line them up, draw a line. And there is the graph of y equals 3x minus 6. Okay? Plot the x-axis or x-intercept, plot the y-intercept, and then line them up with a ruler and draw a line. And that's basically it. This is we're just reviewing how to graph a line, and that's 3 different ways that you can graph a line. You are going to want to do every single one of the ones that I give you.